So, welcome to the Self Study Show. I'm Jer Norris with my co-host Ant Austin, and today Ant has got a idea that he would like to speak about. So, take it away, Ant.
Okay, so got this idea today that I'm just getting on the screen. It should be on there now. So the idea we're going to look at today is you become what you think about most of the time. Now, there's so much to unpack within this one statement. And this statement was made famous by Earl Nightingale, who was worked in personal development for a long, long time. And he actually said this on his famous recording, The Strangest Secret. So if you want to check that out on YouTube, you can find it anywhere. It's absolutely amazing. And he says this statement in there: you become what you think about most of the time. Now, like I said, there's so much to unpack here because a priest one time said that praying is a thing that most people do between prayers. So what he meant by that statement was he was noticing people go in and pray for like 20 minutes and then spend the rest of the 23 hours and 40 minutes of the day thinking about what they didn't want. So they were praying about what they did want for 20 minutes, but then most of the time they were thinking and worrying about what they don't want. And therefore they were attracting it into their lives. And it's the same for me and you because every person is exactly the same. Now, the way the mind functions is that within our one mind, there's two areas of separate activity. There's the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Now, the conscious mind is where we do all of our thinking, but it is limited, unlike the subconscious mind, which is limitless. There's really no scope to how far that goes. No one has ever measured how far that goes to. It's never been beaten. It's always solved problems. And it's where most of our behavior comes from, because almost all of our behavior is habitual. And therefore, that those thoughts that are lodged in there, those fixed ideas, we call them lodged thoughts because this is about thinking. Lodged thoughts in your subconscious mind are moving you into action. And therefore, what you do represents what you become. Quite often, a lot of people will, if you ask them who they are, they might identify with themselves as like a role that they're at work. They might be a manager or a finance officer, whatever it is. Like that's their becoming in their mind. So the idea behind this is that you can really become anything that you want to as long as you can think about it most of the time, like continually think about it. Because most of us, what we do is we get an idea that we like. We've kind of fallen in love with it a little bit. We'd like it to happen. But what we normally do is we think of it, it's there, and then we think, how do I get there? And then we go, oh no, I can't do that. I can't do that. That's in the way. So we let that go, and therefore we don't think about it again. And we go back to thinking about what we do for the rest of the week, like we do all the time. And therefore we become that. We can't become anything different because we're not actively thinking about anything else. So that is the way that I see this idea. What do you think on this, Joe?
Yeah, fantastic points there, and well covered. Yeah, as you said, there is absolutely loads to pick off this. You become what you think about most of the time. And I'm just going to carry on from your kind of priest story because I think that's very, very important. And I'm going to bring it more into line with a lot of people, a lot of our viewers do, which is meditation. So if you do a meditation practice in the morning and you do a visualization, maybe of your goals or, if you're doing this practice, and then for the rest of the 10 hours of the day, if you're thinking not if you're running automatic programs in your subconscious about all the negative things that are happening in your life, then you become what you think about most of the time. So probably for about 15 minutes, you're trying to suppress an idea into your subconscious to create a better life for yourself. But effectively, 10 hours of the day, you're actually letting your automatic programs run, and you're letting your fear and kind of self-doubt and all these other things kind of run your life. So you might have negative habits or negative thought process that you do during the day. So if you're thinking about that most of the day, then you become what you think about most of the day. And then it turns into kind of a Groundhog Day where you're trying to do something really well, but you're not doing it all the time. Eventually, what you're doing most of the time will take over. So let's say you're trying to, I don't know, let's lose weight as a grand example, right? You set up a goal, you're going to lose X amount of kgs, and you go all at it for X amount of time. And you have really good results at the start, but most of the time you're thinking about, oh my God, I'm so missing that. Like, I used to love eating that dinner. I used to love eating that. Like, I really like that snack, but I don't have it. But most of the time, you're thinking about the stuff that you are missing. So naturally, you become what you think about most of the time. All of a sudden, 3 months later, you're back eating the food you don't want to eat because that's what you're thinking about most of the time. So it is crucially important that you have to really, and this is a very, very deep line I'm going to say, you have to live in the present moment. And that is a very, very difficult thing to do. This is thrown all over social media, all over the internet, going, live in the present moment. Yeah, live on purpose life. But to live in the present moment takes a lot of effort and a lot of self-control, a lot of self-discipline, and a lot of work on yourself. It's not an overnight job. It's not a 1 month job. It is a constant work on yourself. So if you can try and live in the present moment, which is writing out who you want to be on your identity, taking the time to actually think about what the person you want to be. So you have to start thinking about who you want to be. You have to write it down and document who you want to be. Then you're going to have to start thinking about how does that person act. And then you have to start suppressing that idea to your subconscious with a repetition over and over and over. And then over time, that will start to change your habitual thinking. So then when a negative, say you go back to the meditation example, you do a meditation in the morning, you visualize, I want to be this, manager in my company, or I want to start a new business. So you wrote out the man or woman you wanted, who can start this business, that person, that new identity. Then you have suppressed that idea in your subconscious. Then during the day, when the negative thought patterns come up and you start thinking differently, you go, hold on, no, that's not in line with who I want to be now. So that's living in the present moment. And that is you become what you think about most of the day. Then you start to change those habits. So you start intercepting those negative thought habits, or the old you, as I like to call it. And then the new you, which is your new identity, you start to go, okay, I won't react to my children like that, or I won't react to my work colleague. I will stop. That's not me. That's the old me. And then you control the situation. That is living in the present moment. And that is how you become what you think about most of the time, because then you are thinking all of the time. And then you will naturally magnetize into that person. So it's setting, like, if you want to set goals, if you want to have a vision, if you want to do better, you right now won't achieve those goals. You have to become the person who can achieve those goals. Do you know what I mean? Because if you could achieve those goals now, you would have already achieved them. So you have to change into that person to achieve those goals. But you need to, as I keep going back to it, you need to become what you think about. most of the time. So you need to become that person who can achieve those goals. So as Anne said, there is so much to unpick in this one line. It's so deep. There's so many ways you could go on it. You could even take it a different angle where we're conditioned between the early years of our life, between 1 and 7, like your subconscious is wide open, and there are automatic programs, people call them beliefs. Our belief system is running in the background, and if you don't change your belief system, then that's what you become most of the time. But that's, again, a massive area. And yeah, what do you think about that one, Ant?
Yeah, just want to like pick up on what you said like at the start there when you said like a lot of our viewers are into meditation and things like that. And
Yeah,
yeah, even if you meditate for an hour a day, which is quite a long time, but even if you were to do that and then you spend the rest of your day, the other how many hours you're awake,
that's
thinking
14 or
about what you
something.
don't want, then what do you start thinking then? You might be committed to doing that meditation, like let's say an hour a day. Let's exaggerate it. That's quite a long time. Most people are like 10, 20 minutes. But let's say an hour a day and you do that and you commit to it for a month. And let's say nothing's really happening. That's what you start thinking then. You think, well, nothing's happening. So you're thinking about that most of the time, nothing's happening. Whereas if you can think about what you want during your meditation and then get into the habit of continually trying to think about it, then you will eventually become it. In The Science of Getting Rich, the book by Wallace D. Wattles, it was written a very long time ago, so he uses words like man and he and stuff, but it just applies to everyone, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female. But he says within that, he says man's most laborious work should be holding his vision in his mind. It's along those lines. And again, it's just another way to say this line. You become what you think about most of the time. It's probably those sort of statements where Earl Nightingale broke it down to this very simple statement. And if we to go a little bit deeper on this, like you become what you think about. Now, you can only, those thoughts that are lodged in your subconscious mind have been emotionalized. So they're not thoughts alone. Thoughts alone are in your conscious mind. Now, the emotionalized thoughts, they're the ones that are lodged in your subconscious mind, and they're the ones that make you act, go out into the world, take action, and you become whatever that may be. So when you're consciously thinking about what you want all of the time, you're going to have different fleeting emotions throughout the day. And therefore, your thought is going to get emotionalized. The more you think about it, the more you're up in your percentages of mixing different emotions with those thoughts. And if you're doing this through meditation as well, thinking about what you want, try and feel into the thinking. Now, this takes some practice. So when you're thinking about what you want, try and bring your awareness to your body and just take note of what feelings, what are happening. You can't really use words to describe your feelings. You can try, we try. We've got all these words that are dressed up for our own physical benefit. We can use like, oh, I get a surge in my hand or I get a rush in my legs. But you don't need to describe it. You just need to feel it. Feel what that feels like as you're thinking of what you want. And I know Bob Proctor says you can only think yourself and grow rich to a point. You have to think and feel about to grow rich. And feeling is a secret. So the more you're thinking about what you want, the more you're mixing different emotions with it. And therefore you're emotionalizing those thoughts, which will eventually drop into your subconscious mind. Now, I say eventually, this can happen really quickly, or it can take a long time. It all depends on the person, on the current belief system of that person. And so like let's say a stubborn person, for example, who's very strict to their values and beliefs that they grew up with, when they're trying to impress a new thought upon their subconscious mind, they've got to do a lot of work to remove all of the old conditioning to allow them to drop that in. Whereas someone else with a more sort of open mind and less stubborn, let's say, get emotionally involved with that idea quite quickly and it drop into the subconscious mind and they get the results a lot faster. It's not that any person is better than anyone else if they're getting faster results. It all comes down to the ideas that are in your subconscious mind, the emotionalized thoughts. And some people will emotionalize their thoughts a lot faster than other people. And this is no reflection of how good you are and who's better than who. It's not that at all because we're all the same. What makes us different is our unique experiences as we were growing up and the emotions that we didn't really have control of when, like as Jer said, between the ages of 1 and 7, our subconscious is wide open. And we didn't have no control over our surroundings or anything. So things are happening, we're reacting, and then those ideas are in our subconscious mind and they don't come out unless you do this work of becoming aware of them and, working through all of that conditioning. So back to you, Joe.
Yeah, I'm just going to follow on that, mate, because I think there's some really, really important points to cover on that. Because you touched on, because basically your subconscious is already full of beliefs, yeah, which again is a word that's thrown around on the internet and social media. A belief is an idea that you emotionalized, and yeah, it's a belief that you believe. Sorry, it's an idea that you emotionalize that is within your subconscious. So it is your character. We all have our belief system. Ant's got his, I've got mine. They're completely different because we were raised completely different. And what Ant was really trying to touch on is when it's like if you want to have a new sofa in your house, but you can't put the new sofa in your lounge when the old sofa's there. You have to remove the old sofa first, and then you've created this space, and then you can put your new sofa in, and then you've got a whole new lounge. So if we use that analogy for your belief system, your subconscious, you need to remove your old belief system or just a belief, challenge it, question it. Where did it come from? Is it, is it serving me now? It might have served me, 20 years ago. So then you remove it. You remove that. Some people would call it a limiting belief. It's holding you back. Then you created this space. Now you can change it to an empowering belief, your new sofa. Then things change outside your world. You look at things very differently. And we know this because we've been through this. When we coach this in our coaching, we get people to challenge their old beliefs and their old conditioning. And we educate people on where do those beliefs come from and how they were formed, and we educate people how to remove them. Because once you start removing them, you do change as a person. Your outside world does change, and you start to think differently. So then when you set goals and you set more challenges for yourself, the fear of doing those tasks is not there anymore, because you look at it a completely different way, because you change the way you think about things. And it's like what we're saying, exactly what we're thinking. You become what you think about most of the time. So if you change the way you think and the way you look at things, then naturally you're going to have better results. And at the end of the day, life is all about growing. It's about, achieving, having the best possible life that you can have. And if you've got limiting and old conditioning, old beliefs that were probably from childhood, from school teachers, from your past. And if they're holding you back in your business, you might not even be aware of them because it's your character. But sometimes if you try to do new tasks and new direction in your business or whatever you're trying to do, and you come across this fear, you procrastinate, you say, I should have done those tasks. Why am I waiting to the last minute and then doing it all in a big rush? That is actually a limiting belief working in the background, and you might not even know it's there. So what we do is we create an awareness for people to help them, look at yourself differently. And then once you start changing these kind of beliefs, and once you start having an awareness, then you start noticing things, everything. Then you start noticing other things in your business or in your life that you want to change, and you start changing your thought process. And then you become what you think about most of the day, which is more positive, empowering thoughts. And then you start to move the needle quicker. Then you get more progress done. You get more productive. You get better with your time. You get better with interaction with clients, your wife, your family, your kids. A lot of things do change for the positive, but it all starts with you. It's an inside out job. Are we going on time?
Yeah, we're nearly there. But yeah, there's some really good
Wrap it
points
up, mate.
again. There's a good, yeah, it's really good points there. I think that's a good way to wrap it up, really, is when you said you've got to remove the sofa to get the new one in. It's like this with our conditioning. So you say you become what you think about most of the time. What you are at the moment is what you've thought about most of the time. Therefore, if you want to get to a new place, yes, you've got to think of the new vision, but you also have to unthink some of the thoughts you've emotionalized and therefore remove them. And these are often called beliefs and just ideas that are lodged in there. I had a conversation with someone today, actually, talking about forming new habits. And it's on this subject because I said to her, I said, sometimes you get more gains by identifying the habits that are disempowering and just removing them. So that is a similar idea to this, unthinking the thoughts you've emotionalized and therefore creates room for your new vision and your new thoughts to constantly think about, and feel into that vision. So we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time.
All right.
Bye.